Hey, what's up? So I had come across a video last night, a perspective on V for Vendetta in relation to end times and stuff like that. But before I get into talking about it, it reminded me of something else I experienced probably a decade ago. I don't remember, but it was a long time ago. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about perspective. This is something my sister had introduced me to a video series by a channel called Feminist Frequency. And I believe the girl that did it her name was Anita Sarkeesian. So you might have heard of either of those in the past as a gamer, because there was a lot of drama years ago about this stuff. And so my sister, I had heard of them, but I never really watched it or anything. And then my sister was like, "Check this video out, I think." And then I watched it, and I remember being blown away. My mind was blown. I had never heard of a perspective like that before, and it became my own. So that's the interesting thing about perspective, is it can become your own. When you agree with it, when you understand it, so that it gets tricky. And something that I've learned is that, especially in that case, that was when I learned, just because I can understand where they're coming from doesn't mean they're correct. So after my first few hours, I was really behind her. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane. It's so true. Like, oh, la, la, la." And then by the end of the 10th hour, because I watched like 10 videos by her, and by the end of the 10th video, I was like, "Oh, she's just stupid." Now, that was just, I became angry, which is why I called her stupid. But I understood her, where she was coming from, the perspective, and I was like, wow, and I never really saw it that way before. But by the time, I was really glad I had kept watching, because I think if I hadn't had watched 10 hours of her content, I might have been stuck with that perspective for however, I don't know how long. It could have been years. Until I came across something else where I was like, oh, yeah, no, right? But I might have been stuck with that perspective. That might have just became my perspective. I agreed with her. I was full on board, and then that was it. Could have happened. But yeah, so by the 10th hour, that by the end of it, I was like, never mind. No, that's just how she feels. That's what she thinks. But there's no way I could possibly agree with that. And the final straw for me was her pointing out how sexist the original Super Mario Brothers was. Not the original Mario Brothers, which was a different game, but the original Super Mario Brothers. Because she was pointing out how Princess Peach was a sex object, that the men just go through this stuff to get to, and then own her, like she's the trophy. And I remember that was what because during that I was watching this video, and there's she's got a lot of explanation and stuff that it's whatever. So but during that I was watching it, and I remember the whole time thinking, I was like, wow. And then I remembered, I was thinking back to what I thought while playing that game. I was like, no, wait a second. No, this was me wanting to save my sister or my mother. That's how it was to me. Like, I wanted to save somebody that I cared about. Now, that's not what the story demanded or anything. I'm not saying Mario's story was amazing. Like, no, but that was my perspective. Like, I wanted to save somebody that needed help. So her perspective was sex object, need to win the trophy, and mine was, no, I want to save somebody, like, whatever, right? Like, so but I was sucked into the whole, and there is sexism, it's a real thing. But her perspective on it was just everything is so sexist and all this stuff. So it took me a while. It took at least 10 hours of watching her stuff to finally get to the point, like, oh, never mind. No, she's just she whatever, like, and I don't mean to just call her stupid or anything, but like I was like, what, now hold on a second, you know. And then I started to recognize like all that. I was just like, this is all wrong. But I understand this perspective. It sucks to feel that way and to see things that way. It sucks. And it is a real thing. Sexism and all this stuff there's a real thing, and it's not like just because we're manipulated by it and it's used against us and that kind of stuff doesn't mean it's not real. Okay, there are very many instances when this stuff is real. But it doesn't mean every single thing that's a part of every single thing is that, you know. So anyways, let's take a look at this V for Vendetta video that I came across. And when I was first started watching it, I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. But throughout the video, I was like, no, I disagree with some things. So we'll take a look at the video, and I might pause during it. I know there were several parts throughout this video that I was like, no, I don't agree with that. So we'll take a look at it together. I don't remember exactly everything in it, but I remember being like, no, oh, stop, just stop. But let me show you. Hold on a sec. Alright, so we'll look at the tweet first, what he says, which is also true. Satan's endgame is not about enslaving humanity, it is about initiation into the new awakened age. The serpent's lie in the Garden of Eden is the real deception we are facing today, to bring us out of the darkness of God's tyranny to the liberation and light of Lucifer. There's a lot that goes into that as well that you don't need to. You know, I know many agnostic, or not atheists. That's fine. I'm not trying to convince you there's a God, just so you know, okay? I know there is. I know God. I wish I knew God better, but anyways, this is, for me, I wanted to point out why I believe this is completely wrong. Specifically related to the things he's talking about in V for Vendetta. But it's interesting stuff, so let's have a look. Alright, right off the bat, this was like, I was like, wait, what? No. V does not represent Satan, right? Now, I can understand the perspective. I can understand where they're going with it, but fully disagree on that. I forgot about this. I don't remember that there's sayings and there's other many stories with similar things like this when somebody is reborn, right? Not every rebirth is satanic. I wish I remember. I've seen many stories, animes, movies, books, even many stories throughout my life when somebody's reborn in fire. And it represents a phoenix as well. It doesn't just represent Satan. You know what I mean, right? So this is, again, perspective. I wanted to share perspective, how like perspectives can be different on the same thing. So it can be tricky. And the thing to remember is just do your best not to let somebody else's perspective become your own. There's a line in the TV show Legion that I'll never forget. And I think it was in the 3rd season, but it kept repeating in a certain area they were in where they worked or whatever, and it was be careful of thoughts that are not your own. And it's hard, especially when you understand the perspective and when you agree with it. It's hard not to just let that become the only right thing. It's hard, right? It can be. It doesn't mean it's always hard, but it can be really hard. So anyways, also represents Phoenix, right? This one, I had, you know what's funny? So V's rebellion against the Chancellor symbolizes Satan's perspective on his war against God. I thought this was very interesting and also stupid, because the Chancellor is clearly the bad guy. Clearly. So it's hilarious. I'm just like, did you even watch the movie? Do you even know the story when you were making this video? Like, what? I think the guy who tweeted this, I don't think he's ever watched V for Vendetta to think that this makes sense. Although, that said, the symbolism is there in V for Vendetta. The cross stuff, that was easily noticeable. Easily. So there are pieces that I can fully agree with and understand. There are these things, but it's presented wrong, I believe. Because they're calling V Satan while the Chancellor here is God, the good guy. No. One thing I had never realized was the Adam and Eve thing. I thought this was an interesting point. I forgot her name was Evie. Like, I mean, I haven't watched the movie in a way. Well, I watched it like a few months ago again, and I'm planning to watch it yet again. It's a great movie, and it's completely relatable to our times right now. But that was something that I was like, oh, I never even thought of that. Like. And this is a part that I could agree with. This perspective. This is what the New World Order is: a fake prison Satan built to traumatize humanity so it can be transformed into following them as the good guy, or whoever becomes the hero, whoever they present. For example, Trump. Could see that a mile away. That will never not confuse me how people did not see. Anyways, so it's a perspective that I can understand, but again, because of what the story of V for Vendetta is, I'm like, a lot of this does not really fall in line, you know. This is something I can understand, and it's also something they've literally said. Klaus Schwab, and then I forget the other guy's name, and I'm sure there's others who have said this out loud. They've said this out loud. We are God now, God is dead. We are the new gods. They've literally said that. something funny about this to me is that's a beautiful thing, right? Beautiful thing to feel God in and all around you, and their point here is it's manipulating you into thinking that you are the God in and around. But it's just it's a weird perspective to me. But I can also understand, like, the only thing that I could understand is that they could say this if they didn't really understand the story of it. I mean, I get it because the truth is used against us. It is used to manipulate people. It gives you a trust in something, and I should have made this bigger earlier. Sorry. It is used against us. The truth is, it's used to manipulate. Not only used to manipulate, but as far as our political system and the powers that be, it is used to manipulate. It's used to have that trust and just let you think they're doing the right thing. I mean, for example, the World Economic Forum, they don't present their things as evil things. all the control stuff, all the stuff that they talk about, we're going to take your life away from you. You're going to do what we tell you, eat what we tell you, drive when we tell you, what we tell you, go where we want you to go. All these things are real things. They present them as saving the planet and saving mankind. That's how they present them. But it makes no sense. It makes no sense. There's no logic. And pretend it's it reminds me of this thing that Bill Gates said once, he's probably said it many times, but there was Bill Gates said, was it Bill Gates? Yeah, it was Bill Gates. He said that the healthier people are, the less there will be. There's literally no logic to that. The people die sooner than later because they're sick. If everybody was healthy, there'd be more and more people. To me, that's logical. The other way does not make sense. Anyway. Ugh. Alright, so, whatever. The last part I had forgotten about, the Wachowski brothers and the New Age thing or whatever that they were pointing out at the end there. Especially in the newest Matrix movie, which I love. It's my favorite. The newest Matrix movie is the best one to me. It had the best story. I was so glad they made that. I was like, wow. I loved it. It seemed like most people hated it. I loved it. But something that is pointed out, it promotes transhumanism. Robots becoming people becoming robots, whatever. It promotes that. That's a part of it. Generally, the story about it is beautiful. It's working together. That's the main point. But you have to be aware of which parts are the parts that are being pushed as has a specific belief and you know, that kind of thing. Like it, you have to be aware of these things to understand what to look out for. So it's tricky, and again, it's like I was talking about the perspective. It's good to be aware of perspective. I'm not saying the more you understand, the more you learn, the better it is. That will always be that way. You should want to learn more. It does, and you want to learn good things, but you need to be aware of the bad things. You have to be. Otherwise, you don't know who the enemy is. You don't understand what's coming. You don't, you know, right? Like, so it's good to be aware of perspective. It's good to understand that perspective. But you gotta try your best not to allow it to become your own just because you agree with it. I've been through this many times in my life, and the one that made me really fully realize it was that feminist frequency thing, because I was full blown like, yeah, this is I mean, like, I was fully, it became my own thoughts. They became my own thoughts. Like, her thoughts became my thoughts. And like I said, by the time I had finished that 10th hour, I was like, never mind, I think she's just stupid. Like, but again, just because I was mad that I believed it the whole time and I went along with it the whole time, and before I realized, I was like, no, her thoughts are not my own, you know. But I could understand the perspective, and I felt really bad. But yeah, so it's tricky, very tricky. Anyways, I just wanted to share that. I thought it was very interesting, and I think I had more. I was lying in bed. I just woke up to go to the bathroom, and then I was gonna go back to bed, but I was lying awake, and I started thinking about this stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna try to record a video with my thoughts on it. I think I did a fair job. I think I said everything I had in my mind, but I'm sure there's like some stuff missing, and I'm gonna remember it right after I hit the stop button, you know, whatever. Anyways, so yeah. Sorry I didn't blow up the video the whole time. I should have done that. My bad. Well, talk to you later. Bye-bye.